just completely forget why you're there.
Oh, yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
All the time.
But imagine that happening more and more often.
Oh.
Turns out there might be a surprising connection to diabetes.
Really?
Ready for a deep dive?
Let's do it.
Today we're looking at a 2024 research study straight from the Salud Jalisco Clinic.
Hey.
The study titled Alteration of Cognitive Status in Older Adults and its Association with Diabetes Mellitus was authored by Bocanegra-Hernández and colleagues.
Okay.
And get this.
Yeah.
They found a potential link between diabetes and a decline in cognitive function.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we're not just talking about memory here, although that's a big part of it.
Sure.
Cognitive function covers a whole range of brain power. Things like attention, language, problem solving.
Yeah.
Even your ability to visually process the world around you.
I see.
So let's unpack this.
Okay.
First things first, this study was observational, meaning it looked at a group of people over time to see if there were any patterns or connections.
Right.
In this case, the researchers followed 378 patients over the age of 60 from that clinic in Mexico.
Right.
And to assess cognitive function, they used a tool called the Mini Mental State Examination.
Okay.
Or MMSE for short.
MMSE, got it.
Just a pretty standard assessment, kind of like a quick checkup for your brain.
Interesting.
So picture this. You're one of the patients in this study.
Okay.
You're sitting with a doctor.
Yeah.
And they start asking you some seemingly simple questions.
Like what?
What's today's date? Can you repeat these 3 words back to me?
Okay.
Can you copy this drawing?
Interesting.
That's the MMSE in action.
I see.
And by analyzing the responses and assigning scores, the researchers can get a snapshot of each patient's cognitive abilities.
Makes sense.
And here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Of the patients who showed signs of cognitive impairment, a whopping 71% also had a history of diabetes.
Wow.
That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It's like diabetes is almost doubling your risk of cognitive decline.
That's a scary thought.
It really makes you wonder.
It does.
What's the connection?
Yeah.
Could uncontrolled blood sugar actually be messing with the brain's delicate wiring?
That's a good question.
And to think that, this study also found that the risk of diabetes actually goes up as we age.
Oh, no.
So as we get older,
Right.
not only do our bodies change,
Yeah.
but the risk of this cognitive decline potentially linked to diabetes also goes up.
Not good.
It's definitely something to be aware of.
For sure.
But before we get too doom and gloom,
Okay.
study also found a glimmer of hope.
Oh, good.
Education seems to play a role.
How so?
A higher level of education was linked to better scores on that MMSE test.
Interesting.
It's like all that learning and mental stimulation actually helps build up a reserve of brain power. A kind of cognitive shield against decline.
I like that, a cognitive shield.
So keep those brains active, folks.
Right.
Never stop learning, exploring, challenging yourself intellectually.
Good advice.
It might just be your secret weapon in the fight against cognitive decline.
I hope so.
But now let's bring in your expert perspective here.
Okay.
How do these findings from Bocanegra-Hernández and colleagues fit into the bigger picture of what we know about diabetes and the brain?
Well, it's important to understand that while this study shines a spotlight on a possible link between diabetes and cognitive function, it's just one piece of a very complex puzzle.
Okay.
There's a lot more research being done in this area, and scientists are still trying to unravel the exact mechanisms at play.
So it's like we're peeking through a keyhole.
Yes.
Getting a glimpse of something fascinating.
Right.
But we need to keep exploring to see the whole picture.
Exactly.
But what's exciting is that research like this is paving the way for new approaches to diabetes care.
Good.
Approaches that go beyond just managing blood sugar and start incorporating strategies to protect cognitive health as well.
That's great.
All right, hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll dive even deeper into the specifics of this study.
Sounds good.
Explore its limitations.
Okay.
And most importantly, discuss what this all means for you, the listener.
Looking forward to it.
Don't go anywhere.
I won't. Welcome back.
Let's dig a little deeper into this connection between diabetes and cognitive function.
Sounds good.
We left off talking about how this study from Bocanegra-Hernández and colleagues is just one piece of a larger puzzle.
Right.
Let's zoom in on their work specifically.
Okay.
They looked at 378 patients, all over 60, from a clinic in Piedras Negras, Mexico, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And they were very careful about selecting those participants. They actually started with a much larger pool, over 22,000 patients.
Wow.
but then narrowed it down
Right.
to ensure the group they studied was truly representative. So no cherry-picking data to skew the results.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
They also excluded anyone taking certain meds.
Okay.
Folks with specific psychiatric diagnoses. Or anyone who had a history of stroke or brain tumors.
Interesting.
Why all the exclusions?
Well, they wanted to isolate the impact of diabetes on cognitive function as much as possible.
Okay.
You know, those excluded factors could potentially mess with brain function all on their own.
Yeah.
Making it harder to see a clear connection to diabetes.
So it's about controlling for other variables that could muddy the waters.
Exactly.
Very scientific.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk more about that mini mental state exam.
Okay.
The MMSE.
Right.
We touched on it earlier. I'm curious.
Yeah.
What kind of questions are we talking about here?
So imagine this. The doctor asks you what day of the week it is.
Okay.
Or to name the current president. That tests your orientation.
Okay.
Then they might say a few words and ask you to repeat them back a few minutes later.
Yeah.
That's checking your memory.
Okay, so pretty basic stuff.
Right.
But it gives you a sense of how well someone's brain is functioning in those key areas.
Exactly.
And when the researchers crunched the numbers, they found that people with diabetes were significantly more likely to have lower scores on the MMSE.
Oh, wow.
Meaning they were showing more signs of cognitive impairment compared to those without diabetes.
That's right.
And this link held up even after they factored in things like age, education level, and heart health.
That's interesting.
So it wasn't just that older folks or those with other health conditions
Right.
were more likely to have cognitive issues.
Yeah.
Diabetes itself seemed to be playing a role.
It seems that way.
That's a pretty powerful finding. It really drives home the point that diabetes isn't just about blood sugar levels.
For sure.
It can potentially impact the brain in profound ways.
Absolutely. And remember how we talked about the risk of diabetes increasing as we age?
Yes.
Well, combine that with this potential connection to cognitive decline.
Right.
And it's a recipe for concern.
Definitely a wake-up call for folks.
Yeah.
To take their diabetes management seriously.
Absolutely.
And for everyone to be mindful of their brain health as they get older.
Couldn't agree more. But speaking of getting older,
Yes.
didn't the study also find that education might offer some protection against this decline?
They did. Higher levels of education were linked to better cognitive scores.
Interesting.
It's like all that learning, those years spent flexing those mental muscles, helps to build up a reserve of brain power.
Right.
A kind of cognitive cushion
I like that.
that might offer some resilience against decline.
So it's never too late to learn something new.
Never. Keep those brains engaged, folks.
Yeah.
Now, I know every study has its limitations.
True.
What were some of the caveats here?
Well, this study was conducted at a single clinic in Mexico.
Okay.
So the findings might not be generalizable to other populations around the world.
Right.
The sample size, while decent, wasn't huge. Plus, because it was observational.
Yeah.
We can't definitively say that diabetes causes cognitive decline. Just that there's a strong association.
Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Exactly. But even with those limitations,
Yeah,
the study's findings are pretty compelling.
I agree.
It definitely adds to the mounting evidence suggesting a link between diabetes and brain health.
And the authors themselves acknowledge these limitations,
Do.
calling for more research to confirm these findings in diverse populations and to explore the underlying mechanisms in greater detail.
More work to be done, but this is a big step forward in our understanding of how diabetes impacts the brain.
Absolutely. And it highlights the need for a more holistic approach to diabetes care.
Right.
One that incorporates cognitive health into the equation right from the start.
I agree. I'm all for a holistic approach. So where do we go from here?
Good question.
Oh.
What are some of the implications of this research for how we approach diabetes care?
Yeah.
And are there any promising treatments on the horizon?
Those are great questions, and ones we'll tackle head on when we come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. We're back, and I think it's time to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about this study from Bocanegra-Hernández and colleagues.
Yeah.
The methodology, the findings, the limitations.
Right.
Now let's zoom out to the bigger picture.
Okay.
What does this all mean for the future of diabetes care?
Well, I think it's safe to say we're moving beyond just focusing on blood sugar levels.
Okay.
We're entering a new era where cognitive health is recognized as an essential part of overall diabetes management.
So it's not just about preventing those classic diabetes complications.
Right.
Heart problems, vision loss, nerve damage.
Uh-huh.
We're now adding potential cognitive decline to the list of things we need to be watching out for.
Exactly. And that means a shift in how we approach care.
Okay.
Imagine a world where routine cognitive assessments like the MMSE become standard practice for anyone diagnosed with diabetes.
It would be like a regular checkup for your brain.
Right.
Right alongside those A1C tests and blood pressure reading.
Exactly. Early detection is key.
Catch any potential issues early on.
Yes.
When interventions might be most effective.
And I think we'll see a lot more emphasis on that in the coming years.
Okay. But it goes beyond just testing.
It does.
Imagine doctors routinely talking to their patients about the importance of brain-healthy lifestyle.
That's a great idea.
So not just watch your sugar,
right,
but also keep that brain sharp.
Yeah. What kind of lifestyle changes are we talking about?
Well, think of the things that are good for your heart.
Oh, okay.
They're often good for your brain, too.
Makes sense.
Regular exercise, a balanced diet, rich in fruits, veggies, and healthy fats, managing stress, getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
All these things can help protect cognitive function, whether you have diabetes or not.
It's like a 2-for-1 deal.
It is. Take care of your body, and you're taking care of your brain as well.
Exactly. And for people with diabetes, it's especially crucial to get those blood sugar levels under control.
Okay.
Uncontrolled diabetes can wreak havoc on blood vessels throughout the body, including those in the brain.
So it's like a domino effect.
It is.
Uncontrolled diabetes leads to damaged blood vessels.
Yeah.
Which then sets the stage for potential cognitive decline.
Right. And that's where those exciting new treatment avenues come in.
Okay, fill me in.
Researchers are investigating a whole range of therapies aimed at addressing those underlying mechanisms of cognitive decline.
What's on the cutting edge of research these days?
Well, remember how we talked about metformin?
Yes. That common diabetes medication?
Right.
Okay.
Some studies suggest it might offer some protection against cognitive decline.
Interesting.
Perhaps by improving insulin sensitivity in the brain.
So a drug we already use for blood sugar control might have this bonus brain-boosting effect.
It might. Very promising.
And there are other medications being investigated, too.
There are.
Drugs that target inflammation, oxidative stress.
Yeah.
And even those sticky amyloid plaques that are a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease.
It sounds like a multi-pronged attack on cognitive decline.
It does. And it's not just about meds.
Right.
Researchers are also exploring non-drug therapies, like cognitive training programs.
Oh, like brain exercises.
Yes.
Yeah.
Designed to challenge and strengthen cognitive function.
I love that. Keep those brains learning and growing.
Just like we do with our muscles at the gym.
Exactly. And then there's mindfulness-based stress reduction.
Okay.
Stress can take a real toll on the brain.
Right.
So learning techniques to manage stress can be hugely beneficial for cognitive health.
So it's a holistic approach, right?
It is.
Medications, lifestyle changes, brain training, stress management. All working together to protect cognitive function.
Precisely. And I think the future of diabetes care is going to be even more personalized.
And really?
Imagine genetic testing to identify those at highest risk for cognitive decline.
Wow.
Or tailored interventions based on an individual's specific cognitive profile.
Personalized medicine for the brain.
It is, and I think as we learn more about the complex interplay between diabetes and cognitive function, we'll be able to develop even more effective interventions to help people live longer, healthier lives, both physically and mentally.
That's a future I can definitely get behind.
Me too.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the science, the studies, the potential implications.
Yeah.
Now, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay.
We all have a brain, and we all want to keep it sharp as a tack for as long as we can.
Absolutely. And the steps you take today can have a ripple effect on your cognitive health for years to come.
So what's it going to be? A walk in nature, a challenging Sudoku puzzle, a conversation with a loved one.
Those all sound good.
Every action counts.
That's a great reminder. It's about taking ownership of our brain health.
Yeah.
Making those small, consistent choices that add up to big results over time.
And never underestimate the power of knowledge.
Right.
The more you understand about how your brain works and what you can do to protect it, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your health. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of diabetes and cognitive function.
It was my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Until next time, stay curious.